Today on In the Woodyard, I'm going to show you how I measure my cuts when I cut firewood. Here we go. Now I have done a couple different videos showing you how I measure my cuts when I cut the rounds from the logs or when I cut trees in the woods. And it's a real simple system, something I thought of a couple of years ago, and it works really good, and a lot of you have done this. But I still get a lot of comments and a lot of questions from people on how I do it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because lately I've got quite a few comments and people wanting to know how I do it because they kind of see what I'm doing, but they don't really understand it. So I thought I'd explain it better. And one of my saws needs a little bit of repair on how I do the measuring because I measure it right with the saw. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to show you the system that I came up with and how easy it is and how efficient it is. And the reason I'm doing this today is because it's been raining all morning. And it's supposed to quit in just a little while. So I thought I would get this done, show you how I convert the saw so that it can measure while I cut. And then I'd go outside and I'd show you a little bit of cutting. So that's what we're gonna do today. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you two saws that I have here. Now, this one right here, there's no measuring on it yet other than what I used to do in the past. And what I used to do in the past, see if I can get this turned over so you can see it here, is I would measure with my bar tip. And what I would do is I'd measure from the tip of the bar over here, over to where I have a line right here. I would lay the saw down. I'll show you this when I go outside later. But what I would do is I would lay the saw down or turn it sideways on the log. So this was 16 inches from here to the tip. Or on the other side, I have another little line right there. So it would be 16 inches from end to end. And what I found out is that, it takes extra time and effort to do that. It's not real fast, but it's an easy way to do it. So if you've got a bar on your chainsaw, which you all do, you could mark somehow on your bar so that you get a consistent size when you're cutting. So that's something you could do. Now, Husqvarna actually makes a tool that attaches right over on the side. It actually attaches right over to the nuts right here, and it is I think it flips back actually, and it's a rod that comes out that you can flip over, and you can put it on there for measuring. So you can put it away or have it out, and they're not easy to find. I mean, you kind of have to go to a dealership and ask for it. They probably have to order it. It's not something you're just going to find on a shelf, but they do make a part for that. So I saw people that have had that, and I thought, well, there's got to be something that would be easier, faster, that would work. So what I came up with is this. So what I have are these feeler gauges right here. These are just zip ties. So I'm going to show you, just going to use this steel rule or aluminum rule because it's easy to show you. So from the tip, from the side of the bar there, all the way out to the tip of these little feelers is 16 inches. And I put 3 of them on there. And I'm going to tell you why. So that is how I measure. So when I'm cutting, and I'll show you, I'll drop a video in here. We'll go out and I'll show you how basically, you just go to the end of the log. So you mark this to be the end of the log, and you just go over and you make your cut. And it's simple, and it's cheap, and it's easier, and it's fast. I mean, you can do it for literally pennies. The reason I like this is it's not something that I have to have on the saw like the gauge that you can get from Husqvarna that can be broke off. These can get broke, but they're very flexible. The other thing is a lot of people do is they'll use, a piece of PVC plastic with a magnet on it. Well, that's fine and everything until you lose it. And you got to put it on and off, and you can't just keep cutting. And you got to actually put it on and then measure, make a little mark, measure, make a little mark. So you're going all the way down your log. What I do is I measure, cut, measure, cut, measure, cut. So I'm not repeating any kind of a process other than I just kind of look, oh, yep, there it is. There's the mark, move the saw over, cut. And it's real fast. I'm not using a Mingo marker where you got to roll down your log and make your mark with your spray paint. Yeah, that's all nice and everything, but it's extra time again. Another thing that takes extra time is if you take a stick that's the size you want it to be and you go with chalk or however else you want to mark it. Some guys use a chainsaw. They measure, then they make a little mark. Then they measure, make a little mark. Or you can use a tape measure again. You got to measure, mark, measure, mark, measure, mark. And some guys, like I say, use chalk. So that's possible that you could do it that way. What's nice about this is it's always on your saw. It always works. It's fast, it's easy. You don't have to redo things. So all this is it's 3 zip ties. That's what these are right here, or cable ties. And then I put some tape on the end, on the base here to hold it, and then pink tape on the end. You could use green tape or yellow tape, I suppose, but pink shows up so well that I use pink tape. I put pink tape on a lot of stuff, you guys have probably noticed. Like my, I put it on my scrunches because I drop these in the woods quite often. And I know you can spray paint them, but the pink tape works, so I put it on everything. So I even put it on, my gauges when I'm outside if I'm going to be checking, you know, if I'm on location. I put it on my files. I put it on just about everything, so it works really well. So now I'm going to show you how I do this. So here we go. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This is very low tech. You get a package of cable ties. These happen to be 14 inchers. They work just fine. You can get shorter ones, it doesn't matter. They got to be long enough though so you can go around the handle and then go out to the end, and then you cut the end off so that you get it to the size you want. So if you want to have a, you know, a 16 or a 14 or a 20-inch cut, you know, you can make them whatever size you want. You just got to get the right size cable ties. Now, originally when I did this, I thought I was going to need a thicker one. So I got like the 1/2-inch cable ties, and I don't have any of those because I don't use them anymore. They come in a package usually of 2 or 4 or something like that. And I put that on, it was a real heavy, thick one. So I had just a single one on here. But I found out it was so stiff that it didn't flex very much. And when you would set it down, if you were by like a round or something that was, you know, blocking here, you'd set it down and they would snap off. Especially in the wintertime, they would break right off right in here. I broke quite a few of them, and then I realized that I need something more flexible like this. It's kind of like a real whippy, flexible thing, and you can bend them all the way over. They don't break off or anything. So what you do is you just put the zip tie through here, and I always put this end in from the front, because what I want to do is I want to end up with my measuring part up to the front of the handle here, not back. I kind of want to have it out front, and I go kind of low, like right about in here, and I just pull it around tight and get it so that it sticks out. You just kind of shove it to where you want it to be. And it looks like there it is. So it's out. And then we're going to put another one on. And I'm going to put it right above it. And the reason I'm putting 3 on is it's easier to see. And if you break one, because it can happen, I've done it a few times, you've got a spare. And if you break the spare, you've got another spare. So, and it just seems to be easier to see. So there you go. I just put them on like that. Get them tight. So that's that part. Back the camera up just a little bit here so you guys can see the end. I think you can see the end now. So then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use this steel rule because it's easier for you guys to see. But you just go to the edge of the bar like this, because you want the inside cut to be your full length, whatever it is. And here you can see it's big enough. You could go 18.5 inches. So if you want to go 20 inches, or 22, whatever size you want, or 24, whatever size you want to make your rounds, you're gonna have to get zip ties that are big enough. But I'm doing 16, so all I'm gonna do is measure one of them, get my thumb right there, and then I'm gonna take scissors, snip that off, and then we're gonna snip off the other 2. There we go. This is pretty hard stuff here. And then I just take the pink tape, we're gonna go on the end, and I'm gonna put a little pink tape on here. So I don't need much, just a little piece. Oops, kind of folded that one over. That's no good. But yeah, just a little piece like this, and I just wrap it around. And you want to have it be, you know, about an inch or so, because it's easier to see. If you put too small of a piece, it's hard to see. And the thing about pink is that there's really nothing in nature that is that color when you're out in the woods. I mean, there's greens and browns and grays and blacks, things like that, but there's not much that's pink. And it really stands out really well. So that's kind of why I like to use the pink. Oops, there we go. So just kind of wrap it around here. And you don't need a lot, just that little bit, that's all you need. So there's another one, and this is probably bigger than I need. And it's okay if it's a little wider, because I go to the end of it anyway. This one's a little too wide. So we're gonna rip this one down just a little bit. There we go. So we go to the end. And so there, now most of you would think, hey, you're done, that looks great. No, you're not done. Because what happens, and you can leave them like this if you want, these will spin on you. And if you want to have them so that you can spin them like that, so you can have them off to the side, that's just fine if you want to do that. But I wouldn't recommend that, because you're constantly having to flip them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And these are so flexible, you literally can bend them all the way and they just pop right back. So what I've done is I keep them so they're aiming right out to the side like I want them. You want them to be a 90-degree angle from your bar. And so I go like that. So then the next thing that I do is I just take some black electrician's tape or vinyl tape, and I'm going to tape them so they're actually kind of in place, because I don't want them to move. I found out that this works by far the best, to actually have them so that they're pretty much permanent or semi-permanent. They're not permanent, they're semi-permanent, because you can just cut this off and start over, which is what I did for this one, because one of these got bent so bad I let it sit up against something, and it was there for a long time and it got bent back, so I thought I would just do this for demonstration purposes for you guys, because I'm a nice guy. So, because I could have left it, it would have been just fine. So yeah, I just go around this a few times, and I'm going to get it so that it's got a little bit of almost like a collar on it, so that it's going to be tighter, and it doesn't have to be super fancy. I just get it tight, and it's pretty easy. So do that, and I'm going to do another piece top and bottom here yet, just to give them a little bit of a finish here, so they're down all the way. What's nice about this black vinyl tape is that it's stretchable, so you can put it on pretty tight, and it's kind of it's very cheap. I think I don't pay more than $1 a roll for this stuff, maybe not even that, if that. So now a lot of you again would think, oh, you're done, it's on. No, it's not done yet, because I want to put a little bit of a edge on these, so it ends up looking like this one does back here. I don't know if you guys can see that one, if I get the camera back there. I have this so that it's got a little bit of a collar on it, almost like when you have a collar that goes on the ones they put on permanently onto electrical cords, so that you're not flexing at that point all the time, because that's where they can break then. So what I've done is put a piece of this stuff on and around. I'm gonna go around like this. See if I can go through here so you guys can see. So I'm just basically building a little collar for it that's going to give it a little bit of strength and keep the three pieces somewhat rigid, but yet still flexible. And so I put a little bit on. I'm going to do one more, and we're going to tighten it up a little bit. And again, I always start kind of on the handle itself back here, and I'm going to come across. Nothing fancy, just kind of wrapping it up. It's kind of like tying flies or jigs, which I used to do. You just kind of want to get it so that it's kind of going to finish itself off. So there, I got this one going back. I'm going to put one more piece around the back side on the handle just to hold that down. And then this one will be all done. It will be complete. So we go across there. And around, we're going to come up and around again because I want to get that piece to the back. So there we go. So that one is done. So there it is. Okay, so you can see I've got one on my 576, and these two are both 572s. There's that one and this one, so they're on these saws, and yes, I'm going to be getting another saw soon, and I'll have it on there too. So it's always on there. They're flexible. You can see they flip right out of the way and they pop right back. And so yeah, these work really good. That's pretty much all there's to it. So now I'm going to go outside. I'm going to put my goodies on. It quit raining just for a little bit, it looks like, so I'm going to put on my helmet and chaps and gloves. I'm going to go out and I'm going to show you just a few cuts, just so you get an idea how it works, and I'll show you how I have done it in the past with the bar method and with the feeler gauges, or I don't know what measuring devices, whatever they are, the zip tie, cable tie, pink tape thingies. So we're going to go out right now and I'll show you that. Okay, so I'm not going to do much. I'm only going to cut a little bit here just to show you how I mark, because it's starting to rain again, and I just looked at the radar and there's a bunch more coming. So we're only going to do a little bit because I don't want to get all soaking wet, and I got other stuff to do anyway today. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how I measure with the saw as I'm cutting. So first I'm going to just show you, and then I'll start up and do the actual cutting. Okay, so one way to do it, and the way I used to do it, is I would take my saw and I'd lay it like on the side like this, so I'd see the tip of the saw is right on the edge of the log, and then I have this mark right here. So all I would do is I would take the saw, set it like that, and I'd look, and you pick a spot out on the wood, and then you keep looking at it, and then you make your cut. So it's pretty simple, but then you're going, and then you do it again, you look and you pick out a spot, and then you go and you cut. So you can just go back and forth like that. So you don't need any of this at all, or you don't need any of the markers or anything like that. I know a lot of guys use the AccuMarks that have the magnet on it that you can measure, that you go, and so what they do is they stick it on their bar, and then they'll put the end of the marker on the end of the log, and then they make a cut, and then they do it again, and then they do it again, and then they do it again. So what happens then is that they're spending all their time making their marking. By the time they get marked, their log marked, I'll have 2 cuts done already. So it might not seem like a lot, but when you're cutting hundreds or thousands of logs like I have, it adds up. I'm saving hours and hours and hours by doing it that way, just on one log load like this. So what I do when I'm cutting now is I use these markers. So I just go and I just put it like this. So I'm right on the end here. You can see I've got the feelers right to the end. And then I just bring the saw and then I just cut. And then I put the feelers right to where it was, and then I bring the saw and I cut. So we're gonna start it up now and I'll show you how I do it. Go from right to left, you just kind of put your bar up against the edge like this, look where your feelers are, and so there you go, it's that easy. Nothing to it, easy peasy. So yeah, the little feeler things, they bend really easily, and they don't break hardly ever. The smaller ones, the big ones did, but there it is. Feeler gauges for your saw. So if you want a fast, easy way to measure, that's what I do. I've tried everything. I've tried chalk, I've tried measuring with a measuring tape, I've tried a stick, I've tried a long stick with marks on it. I would set down and I would cut all the way down. I haven't tried the Mingo marker. I tried a magnet one, but that fell off a lot, and probably just need a better magnet, but I just didn't really care for it too much because you gotta take so much extra time to do your marking and then cutting. I like to just go down the log, and once you get good at it and you use it a lot, you don't have to put it up close like I just demonstrated to you, how you put your feelers right out to the edge of the log. You can kind of look from above, and it's almost like a guide that you kind of just use your eye and you kind of look and you can see where it's got to go. Because I'm not trying to make perfect wood here. It doesn't have to be, you know, measured with a micrometer to 16 inches. If it's 15, I'm okay. If it's 17, I'm okay. Any bigger than that, I don't want. Any smaller than that, I don't want. But I'm usually pretty close. Usually I'm, 16 and a half, 15 and a half, 16 inches, right in that range. So there you go. That's it for today, folks. That's all I've got. The rain is coming. It's really dark coming that way, so I'm gonna head in. So tomorrow I'll be back in the wood yard. You should come on back. It'll be fun. Between now and then, get outside, get cutting. Good night, Irene.